set up? Are you gonna use wires? Okay, perfect.
Hello?
Did you want the clicker or are you gonna do this here?
I guess I can play it.
Sorry,
Sorry.
technical things between one and the other.
I'm not a
You're all
computer
good.
science major. So,
Just press forward.
awesome.
You got it.
This is really fancy. I didn't even know I was gonna have something like this. Hello, welcome to my talk. This is What It's Like to be Student Body President by Doré Young, me, Student Body President. Welcome here today. I'm really excited to be speaking to all of you. So the first question I want to answer is, how does one become Student Body President? Well, I had two things that made me really well suited for being Student Body President of Colorado College. And this is actually the wrong slide. I had competency and circumstance. And this particular year, I happened to be the only person with both. I have been on student government since freshman year of college. I know CCSGA, student government, very well. I know CC very well. I've been networking and understanding the institution better and better since I came here. So I definitely had the knowledge to do a good job at this position. And I also had the circumstance where the commitment of being student body president was a commitment that I was willing to make personally. I don't necessarily have the time, but this was something that I cared about and this was something I was willing to do. And it happened to be that nobody else on campus had this same combination of competency and circumstance. There were a lot of other people who had the competency, right, who would do great jobs in my position, but that's just not what they were looking for. That wasn't what they were prioritizing this year. And then there was somebody else who ran who had the circumstance, but he had never been involved in student government before. So I took it upon myself to be here and help with that. So you might ask, what does student body president do? This is my next question. So I have a slide of my cute little responsibilities. First of all, public speaking, like I'm doing today. It's one of my favorite parts of my job. I really, really love public speaking. It's something that I've been trained in since high school. I did academic competitions and give speeches as a position that I will talk about later. I also lead meetings, and this can be really fun, this can be really stressful, but it's really that leadership position of not just leading meetings, but also checking in with people. And believe it or not, I actually go to more meetings than I lead. So I have been able to learn from a lot of really great people about how to make that happen and how to make that efficient week to week. Communications is a big thing for me. That means communicating with students through talking to them, answering questions, also sending out school-wide emails, things like that. I also communicate with staff, faculty, administration, the Board of Trustees. I'm on Project 124, really making that communication happening, and I also call my mom every day, so that's a really important part of my communication. Next we have networking. That doesn't look like walking around handing out my business card. That also doesn't mean looking for opportunities in my career. I'm going to be a teacher, so networking is not an important job of my pathway. What I mean by networking is literally being one of the few people at this college who are in the middle of a campus-wide network to improve CC, to keep it going, and to do the things that we do. So the things that are happening on campus, I'm one of the people at the middle who needs to know what's happening and be able to communicate those, because if I'm at the center and I'm talking to one person and then I'm talking to another person, I can say, okay, you guys are talking the same thing, here's this person's email, right? Affirming and supporting students, you're going to be okay. CC is going to be okay. Answering questions, again, that line of communication, and also responding on campus to student concerns, whatever those may be. So students have a lot of different concerns. We split them up into categories, but we have always things to talk about, and this can be simple, as in sending people to the food advisory committee or making a committee for a certain initiative that we want to start, but this can also be really complicated, such as responding to the mental health crisis that we're going on right now. Last night we literally spent time in our conversation. We are making a fund actually for mental health to get students off campus to be able to access those resources. We just allotted $52,000 towards that, and last night we had to talk about whether or not to have an application to access this fund for off-campus counseling, whether we should have a financial aid or financial need requirement or not, because some people are saying everybody should have access to this, and some people are saying the lower income students should have priority. So these are the tough questions that I have to answer in my position, or help answer, or communicate answers and ideas. So in other words, I have 2,000 students to worry about. I have 5 committees to preside over. I wish we only had 99 problems, and we do this 3.5 weeks at a time. 3 weeks together, 1 week on my own, because I'm usually the only person working over block break, and 4th week. And loving CC every day is something that I choose to do. It's not a requirement of the job, but you really can't do it without loving CC, and so that's really important for me. So you might think, wow, you do a lot, Dre. What prepared you for this? You came to the right place. I was very prepared by my extensive experience beforehand, which I have up here on this slide. So while she was graduating college in 2016, I was a 13-year-old playing Barack Obama in a school play. And this told me for the first time what it's like to be student body president. Not student body. This told me what it's like to be a president, right? So that's where I learned about that. When I was 15, that's when I got my first wrestling championship, and that taught me what it's like to win. I continued to win those things. And when I was 17, I became Portland Rose Festival Princess, where I did a lot of public speaking, I shook a lot of hands, and that prepared me for this a lot too. Yes, so combination of Barack Obama, champion wrestler, and princess makes Colorado College student body president, apparently. So again, I am Doré, but who am I? In order to answer the question what it's like to be student body president this year, you have to ask what it's like to be Doré. Well, I'm known by a lot of different names and different reputations. My family thinks I'm a goofball. Apparently they thought my haircut looks like Justin Bieber, so they arranged it like that. But a lot of people see me as the second picture, right? And that's the picture of me that you're seeing today. And it's kind of this like identity disconnect between what I do and who I am, right? And this disconnect only really happens if you're looking at who I am in reference to reputation, but that's what we're looking at most of the time, right? There are a lot of other ways to figure out who you are. There's a lot of other ways to determine your identity. For example, I'm a very strong Christian, so I find a lot of my identity in that. But that isn't going to help me answer the question of what it's like to be student body president. So let's look back about what I do, right? So this is who I am, maybe. We aren't really sure. But what do I do? Maybe we can find it from there. So again, these are my presidential responsibilities I told you about before. But then also, I have personal responsibilities as well. These are the things that I brought into this year before I became student body president. So I am a leader in Christian ministry. I have to keep my house clean and livable, and to keep my fridge stocked and have people over and things like that. I study, I'm a chemistry major, so that takes up a lot of my time in lab. I have 2 jobs. I work for the Butler Center as a peer mentor for first-generation college students, and we don't have any mentees there because we are still starting that program, and I'm the person starting that right now, so I have to go to work and get that going. And then my other job is I'm a first-year mentor. I have 18 mentees there. It's a lot of work. I also play rugby. If you want to see me play rugby tonight, we have a game on Washburn at 6 p.m., and it's going to be really fun. But that takes up a lot of time. I do it with Maria, who is part of the journal, the outdoor journal that I was talking before. I'm a friend. I have a lot of friends. This is a really important role for me. I need to be keeping up with my friendships if I'm going to be, the person I want to be is a person who keeps up with my friendships. Additionally, partying, which is on the border of being a student body president responsibility, because actually a lot of times that I spend at parties, I'm answering questions about student government, I'm answering questions about CC. People come up to me, hey, I'm interested in this issue, hey, I've been working on this proposal. And it just really opens up that avenue for communication if they're seeing you at night as well as at day. So that's important for me, and that's a way that I choose to engage with my presidential duties. I also dance. I'm a choreographer. I'm a dance teacher. I freestyle dance. I dance for performances. I dance other people's dance. Sistering. I have 5 younger siblings. This is really important to me. I answer math questions. I help with boyfriends, stuff like that. Applications. I'm graduating in May, so I'm applying to grad school and other programs as well in ministry and also in teaching, because I'm going to be a teacher. Project 2024, you'll be hearing from Susan Ashley later today. I love Project 2024, I'm very passionate about this. And I also serve on school committees. So these are things that I choose for myself, and the other ones are part of just my position. So you can't look at the other ones without looking at this stuff too, because it's the same person, right? What's it like to be student body president? What's it like to be DeRay? Those are the same questions this year. So I expect that a lot of people in leadership have these kinds of identity issues of, okay, I do this, but I also do this. I lead meetings, but I party, right? I'm Justin Bieber haircut, but I'm also student body president. And so this is just a hard disconnect between who you are and what you do for anybody in a leadership position, right? I was just talking about this with Dean Michelle Dickey and President Richardson this week in the president's office, and we were having this exact same conversation of who you are versus what you do. And that's hard for any leader, but I find it especially difficult just because I feel like I have so much going on, right? And it would already be difficult no matter what, but on top of all of that, I am a person of color at CC. I am a lower income student at CC, right? I have 5 siblings. I am queer. I am Christian. I am only 20 years old. And all of these kind of add up to this kind of crisis of like, what is it like to be student body president, right? So I'm here talking to you, and I can answer questions like, what do I do? I can answer questions like, how did I get here? I can answer questions like, you know, what is my name? What is my age? But if I'm really answering the question, what is it like to be student body president? I have to look at what it's like to be a student body president at CC. I have to look at what it's like to be a person at CC and in the world. And I have to look at what it's like to be me. So the conclusion is that I don't know what it's like to be student body president. I'm probably at least 20 hours of journaling and praying away from figuring that one out. But thank you for coming here and listening to my process, and hopefully you learned a little bit more about what students are doing here. And I also just wanted to say that I find myself in this position of, okay, who am I? What do I do? Wait, I'm doing so many things. Wait, these responsibilities keep coming up because I'm a person with both competency and circumstance, right, for this position. But there are so many people on this campus that also have competency and circumstance for a lot of positions as well, right? Another student might have competency and circumstance for like 5 different things, and they say, okay, I'm gonna do all of those things. And then they find themselves in the same position where they can't really figure this one out, what it's like to be me. And so that's a problem that we're facing at CCU, it's a problem that we're working on, and we're taking it one step at a time. I wish I could tell you what it's like to be student body president, but hopefully I've somewhat communicated that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do a few minutes if you'll
Okay.
take questions.
We can do a couple minutes of questions. This is also my email address if you have questions for me or comments as well. But up here first.
What kind of graduate school do you want to go to?
What kind of what?
You mentioned going to graduate school?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I'm applying to 3 teaching schools at the moment. So 3 masters in teaching programs. One of those schools is Colorado College, and 2 of them are far away. Sorry, Ashley.
I just want to say that was completely brilliant. I just turned 50 and I still feel like I'm like trying to figure out who I am in all of these roles that I play. So I feel like your presentation was incredibly relatable to everyone. So I just want to say thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you. Yes?
You mentioned the mental health crisis that is occurring here and at many other campuses. As you figure out your student body president role, what are you seeing that's working for the students here who are obviously under immense pressure or self-imposed pressure?
That's a great question. So if you weren't aware, we have always had mental health problems on this campus. This has always been a problem. But also in the last 6 months, 3 students passed away. And so this is really making the time for action being right now. And a lot of students are organizing, and there's a lot of different things that are happening. So, for example, student government just put $52,000 towards off-campus counseling resources for students, where they can just go and pay the invoice, or put the invoice to us, and we can pay it with that fund. But that is just a very, very band-aid solution. There's a lot of other things that are happening as well. The faculty right now are forming a pledge to better mental health and better support students in their mental health in the way that they teach their classes. The first year program is making that pledge as well. And then I am working with administration to look at bigger problems, but there are also other groups on campus who are organizing around this as well. There's NAMI, which is the National Alliance for Mental Illness, and they're brainstorming a lot of different solutions. One of their solutions was to actually make a fund that, like the one that we made, so hopefully now they can just contribute to ours and not have to have two funds. But we're also looking at how to, we're talking about how to improve on-campus resources and on-campus counseling, as well as different peer initiatives that we can maybe start. We have the manpower and implementing mental health screenings at the health center, things like that. And then there's also a group who's bringing back our demands. So last spring we had a mental health awareness. We were trying to make a campus pause day, but that didn't end up happening. CCSGA was pushing for a day off, and we got 45 minutes. And so along with that 45 minutes, we sent the school a list of demands, and now those demands have not been met, and they're being brought back up. The same petition is being opened up again, and adding names to that petition by a group called CC Institutional Change Now. And so to answer what is working, not that many things are working right now, or they're not working enough. And so there are basically at least 10 different solutions that different students on campus and also faculty and also I'm sure staff and administration is looking at implementing in order to make mental health better in general. Yeah, so that's the last question that I'm going to take just because I talked about that. But thank you so much for listening to my talk.